Sash C says, how do you know who they hate? Black women only have each other at the end most of the time. Well, this is obviously one of these super liberal black women. She says that black women only have each other. Well, you know what's interesting about that? You come across so many so-called black women who say that they don't have any female friends, that they don't mess with other women because, and then they'll go on to say the same things about the nature of the woman that I tend to say, which is that they're narcissistic, that they're jealous, that a lot of times they're insincere. And these are certain natures of the woman that, that you have to understand are part and parcel oftentimes. Not every woman, but a lot of them. But most of you brothers who converse with women, a lot of times they'll tell you, I don't have female friends. So this notion that all black women have are each other, well, if all you have are other black women, then you don't really have anything, because you guys are not solution oriented. And I know people are going to get upset by this. Women in general are not solution oriented. You guys are great at bringing forth solutions for your children and assisting your man if he's a low-level man, or if he's a man at a low point in his life. If you're a good woman, you're going to assist him. But when I say y'all are not solution-oriented, I'm talking about on a macrocosmic scale. I'm not talking about your man is out of work and you're helping him out, or, your son needs help with his homework. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how do you solve issues in communities? How do you solve issues, worldwide, things of that nature. That's not the woman, man. The woman is a survivor. She's going to go along with the status quo. She's going to survive. She's going to adapt to her environment. So she looks at the so-called black man in a low way, because the black man today, the modern black man, is a product of her. If you're being raised in an environment that's dominated by matriarchal energy, of course, the woman is going to look at you as a man as less than. That's why a lot of times when these guys come on my channel trying to argue like a woman, I ask them, did you have a father in your life? Because I could tell right away. A lot of times they don't get it. Why are you talking about my father? What are you talking about? No, I didn't have a father. What's that got to do with it? Because a lot of times they can't tell. They can't tell that a lot of times they're emitting the energy of their mother. So Sash C said, as Malcolm X said, the most disrespected woman is the black woman, and no one disrespects them like their own men nowadays, and historically shameful. Well, actually, Malcolm X said that he's a hard man on the woman. That's what he stated. He said, I'm a hard man on the woman. Why is that? Because he understood that the woman has to be moderated. She has to be led. The modern day super liberal so-called black woman does not agree that she has to be led by a man, no matter what they say. Right? I'm talking about in general. The super liberal black woman does not believe that she can be led by a man. I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about the super liberal ones. And you have the liberal ones. Some of them can be dealt with to a little bit of a degree. They can be tolerated, long as you're either a simp or a very strong man. You have to be on one of those two poles. Right? To deal with the liberal woman, you got to be a very strong man, or you have to be a simp. Because a simp don't even understand what's going on. He's just going to suffer in silence. A very strong man's going to know how to moderate a liberal woman. He's going to know how to keep her in her proper perspective, like a lion tamer. Grover Light said, why don't we look at the fall of the Panthers and the rise of black feminism of the 70s, see who betrayed who? Well, I already touched on that, brother. You're correct. Reginald Person said, right, there is no race loyalty. Well, our people have to know what their race is first. The term race means seed. Okay? The term race means seed line. So who carries the seed? Once you start to understand these things, they get very simple. When you simplify life, that's when it becomes easier to make better decisions. Grover Light said to Reginald Person, the problem was black women selling the Panther out in the late 70s and siding with Gloria Steinem. Oh, this brother knows some stuff. This brother knows some stuff. I already touched on that. Michelle Wallace was her name. I probably mentioned her in one of these videos a long time ago. You can look up that book. It has something to do with the Superman, the death of the Superman, or something like that. It was a book written by Gloria Steinem that she attributed to Michelle Wallace, Who is an MK Ultra asset, by the way? Michelle Wallace. Okay, she was a plant. So Big Dick Click said, holy shit, I did a lot of searching, and you're right. These black women that are pro-black, feminists, and liberals are the ones that end up dating strictly interracially. They use the pro-black card to hide their swirling tendencies. Well, shit, brother, you don't have to do that much searching. I've been saying that for the last 2 years on this channel. Ronald Aldridge, liberal black women are damaged goods. Enemy of moron. Said to Groverlight 12, talk to him, my dude. Black women are still drunk off that Steinem. That's true. Good job by you, Groverlight. Calvin X said, I'm looking for Cynthia G in the background. Chris Penn said, Calvin White and China Fox with her fake biracial self. If you don't notice, most of the females on that retreat are biracial, which is not black. Well, let me say this, Chris Penn. There's no such thing as black. There's no such thing as black. And by the way, there's no such thing as biracial. Okay? That's going to go over a lot of people's heads. A lot of so-called black people adhere to racial ideologies that were concocted by the so-called Caucasian. You can only be one race because you can only have one seed. Okay? Now you could put seed, I'll give you an example. If you plant an apple seed in soil here in America, you could plant an apple seed in soil in Russia, you could plant an apple seed in soil in China. It might cause the tree to grow a little bit differently. The fruit might sprout a little bit differently, but they're all going to be apples. Okay? So, whatever the father is what the race of the child is. That's why when you read the scriptures, if you are of the son of Israel, you were an Israelite. If you are the son of Ishmael, you were an Ishmaelite. Right? So on and so forth. The father gave the name to the lineage, or the people were named after their forefather, who, of course, forefather, meaning your male ancestor. It's only in this society where people have come up with this notion of biracial and things of that nature, because we live in a Babylonian society. Okay? We live in a society based on government and cultural ideologies rather than, cultural affinity. It's now, okay, we've all been raised in the same environment. We speak the same language. We have the same customs. We're all related, right? Via tribe or clan or what have you. It's more like, okay, we were all born in New York City, so New York is our custom. We were born in America, so we have American customs. And it all comes from Babylon. That's where you get the concept of citizenship from. That started in ancient Babylon. Okay? And it trickled down to Greece and Rome. The concept of citizenship. It started in Babylon. Also in Kemet, I believe, as well, but definitely in Babylon. And it trickled down to Greece and Rome. That's why when you read the book of Acts, Paul states that he was a Roman. He tried to appeal as a Roman because he was saying that he was a Roman citizen. Just like in America, when somebody wants to get American citizenship, one of the ways that they can do it is by fighting in the military. That also was the case in ancient Rome. I believe it was Paul's grandfather who was a member of the Roman military and was able to get Roman citizenship, and it trickled down to Paul. It was either Paul's father or his grandfather. But that's why Paul was able to appeal in the book of Acts as a Roman. Why is that? Because if you were found guilty of a high crime in ancient Rome and you were not a Roman citizen, then you would be crucified. And of course, crucifixion was a very excruciating death. Right? That involved asphyxiation, organ failure while you were still alive, and a lot of times birds of prey will come and pick out your eye sockets while you were still alive. Things of that nature. But when you were a Roman citizen, then you could be beheaded and get a quick death. Okay? So, just to get back to the point, no, that biracial, that's a concept that was concocted in Babylonian type societies. There's no such thing as somebody who is biracial. You are the seed of your father. Let's see here. UNDXAD. I don't know how to pronounce that. He says, I live in Omaha, brothers, and look, this broad doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. Segregated? Give me a break, man. Well, no, she knows what she's talking about. She's just mad. She's frustrated. She can't get that white man. Rudy Tucker says, I was stationed at Ufford from 07 to 13, and it just so happens that a lot of the blacks live in North O. There are blacks that are scattered in other parts of Omaha as well. This chick is exaggerating here. D. Nightman says, but she looks biracial. WTF. Well, you know, a lot of the biracial, so-called blacks, they love to overcompensate for their own cultural confusion by trying to outdo so-called blacks that have two so-called black parents. They want to outdo them. Okay? That's why you see the Colin Kaepernicks and a lot of these people trying to act as if they're going to lead revolution. I've said this before, and one of these brothers got upset. He said, oh, you know, I have a black father, my mother's white, and blah, blah, blah. Look, you can't be a leader of a certain race of people and you're, you know, you have a non-so-called black mother. Sorry. Right? You're of that people, but you can't be a leader, no. You look at any culture around the world, you can't be prime minister of China and have one parent that was Chinese and another parent that's East Indian. Okay? Over in the Orient or the Far East, they don't play that. Over in the other countries in the East, Africa, the so-called Middle East, they don't play that. Because they understand the importance of the connection of the people to their leader. But in the Western society, it's much more Babylonian. So, it is what it is. But once again, just getting back to the point, a lot of so-called biracial people, they try to overcompensate for their own confusion by trying to out-woke so-called black people who have two so-called black parents. Marty Williams says, Hotep healing industry, neoliberal, third wave, black feminists, and professional women grown tired of white folks seeking a space of mutual emotional catharsis, of being single and middle-aged, shared racial grievances, and bourgeois middle-class spa indulgence. They proudly spend most of their time guzzling pink Moscato, bemoaning colorism, and bashing white folks and black men. That about wraps it up, bro. That about sums it up, Marty Williams. That's basically all that shit is about. Normal buggy-ass, super liberal black women with their fake racialist bullshit. Ask any one of those females what the solution is. They have none. That's why they had to go all the way to Costa Rica. I responded to this guy. Yeah, he deserved to be responded to. He deserved to be responded to. Chuck E. Cheese's Karazian says black men are kings. Well, you know what, brother? I can't quite agree with that. Because a king has to think like a king. A lot of these brothers don't think like kings. Just being so-called black don't make you a king. You have to think like a king. So, until the so-called black man starts to think like a king and have a ruling class mentality, I can't make a declarative statement like that. I can't just put that out into the atmosphere. Brothers have the potential to be kings, but that's a process, man. That's a process. That's a constant process of growth. So I cannot co-sign that. But brothers have that potential, but they have to get their head out their mother's ass. James Brass said, LOL. Jemiah said, not yet. I agree with you, sir. Alex Prendergast said, pull your pants up, king. I agree. That's one of the main things that so-called black men have to do. Stop walking around like a jailhouse jump off and pull your damn pants up. Stop showing the crack of your ass. Look like Mariah Carey from 20 years ago, showing off a tramp stamp. Ain't nobody trying to see that shit, man. I believe it tells you in Job, the 38th chapter, to gird up your loins like a man. I think that's Job 38, and probably about the third verse or so. Gird up your loins like a man. Eric Hall says, get a bad reputation in one area, move somewhere else where the people don't know your reputation yet. The further, the better. Hey, That's the same sentiment that was touched on in Eddie Murphy's comedy special Raw. Same thing he said. Let me see here. Andre Jones responding to Eric Hall. He said because they burned all their bridges. Just about. Andre Jones says men never really treated women well anyway. They might as well. Doggy Duds says that to Andre Jones. This is most likely some type of upset liberal female. Men never really treated women well anyway. They might as well. Your treatment has a direct correlation with how you view yourself. And I tell cats this all the time. You never treat someone better than they treat themselves. A woman will show you relatively early how well she deserves to be treated. She really will. And from there, you just keep your eyes open. Andre Jones responded to Doggy Duds. Mankind didn't land on Earth just yesterday. It's not so much the abuse as one might think, but it is the right of disciplined authority that a man has that they're jealous of. I agree. The woman is jealous of the natural rulership aspect of the man. Most women know that they really should not be trying to rule, but they're going to try to put out that energy because that's what feminism teaches them. But most women know that they shouldn't rule. That's why you have a lot of modern super liberal women who get upset with other women. They say even other women don't want us to be in power. Of course, because other women know that women in general are children with titties. They know that. The woman knows that they have a strength, they have a beauty. They guide the household. But do you want a woman in the so-called White House or making real decisions? Not if you're smart, no. I'm sure people are going to get upset with that. Oh well. Let's see here. He says, mankind didn't land on Earth just yesterday. It's not so much the abuse as one might think, but it is the right of disciplined authority that a man has that they're jealous of. Not so much as the ill treatment most of them exaggerate or politically promote. In essence, they want to do what they want to do without the natural order of male authority that God has given and the original standard of the family structure, where yes, they can't dominate. They don't want their rightful role anymore, and it does no one, especially the children, any bit of good. I agree, sir. That's why I state that you have to be with a woman for many years before you consider having a child with her. I'm dead serious about that, especially you brothers out there in your late teens and early 20s. Do not let anyone make you think that you should be trying to have a child right now. Make sure that you have your life together, your shit in order. You should have your own place. You should have a real job, hopefully working on a career or being a business owner. You should not have your mind on having a bunch of kids. Because I'm going to tell you, if you try to have children too early, when you're not ready, when you cannot provide for them, all that same woman's going to do, who had her legs spread eagle, receiving your semen, 9 months later, she's going to be on the internet calling you a deadbeat dad and the worst thing ever. Doggy Dud says, yeah, women don't control what men do or how they treat other people, not actual real life men. Future War X says, yet, look at all the black men who's accusing black women of just that. Well, one of the main reasons why a lot of so-called black men are accusing women of being control freaks is because they've allowed them to establish the rules of engagement, right? For whatever reason. The woman is going to utilize whatever power she feels like she has. That's the bottom line. Very rarely are you going to encounter women who utilize power with a sense of propriety. For the most part, if the woman is given a certain limit to the power that she has, she's going to use it to its limit. It's like somebody who has a car that can go 130 miles an hour. They're going to put their foot on the gas pedal and get to 130. Okay? That's the nature of the woman. So to avoid all that, it behooves you to make better decisions. Laddie Boy said, yup, you get your man at the door and throw him. He ain't going nowhere. Learn how to boil water. Oh, yeah, I think this was in response to a statement that I made in the video about how easy it is to keep a man. I mean, for the most part, if you can cook, if If you're satisfying your man, if you're willingly and willfully satisfying your man, he ain't going anywhere. I'm not going to say that he's not going to have a concubine or two, but he ain't leaving you. I had a discussion about this with a brother that I talked to a few weeks ago. When you see these situations where the man just up and left the woman, he up and left the woman for a real reason. He ain't up and leave her just because he had another woman. He up and left her because she was not making him happy. Let's see here. He says, stop arguing with your man and be even-handed, but they know everything and know every solution, hence why they are at a resort. Well, that's exactly right. I guarantee you, every last female at that resort is more than a handful. More than a handful. I promise you that. They have a hard time dealing with black men. That's why they ran to that resort. It has very little to do with white people. Xavier Lane says, it's our fault as men. We just got to establish a culture that is based upon strong family values, putting God first and chasing wisdom. We do those three things, everything will follow. Now, as for these liberal women, run. Did I mention run? I tried dating a liberal woman, and I've seen a lot of them was doing mind control tactics that I read from a book called Transformation of America. Oh boy, it's true. A lot of these modern day women, they will try to utilize a lot of mind control tactics. And by the way, that book, Transformation of America, is a great book. I recommend that book highly, especially for you brothers who want to learn about the MK Ultra program. And that woman names names, Kathy O'Brien. She names names. I get a lot of these jokers to come on my channel talking about how MK Ultra is a conspiracy theory. There was an official congressional hearing on MK Ultra in 1977. The mind control program is not theory, it is fact. You just don't know anything about it. But once again, you can read Kathy O'Brien's book, Transformation of America, and you can read another one of her books called Access Denied. Great books. Tony's son said, I swear these last couple of years we turned into straight suckers. We jump at and applaud and rally around any damn thing that slightly appeals to our ego or caters to us being victims of some sort. It's as if we don't know that white people who are in power realize blacks are so desperate for representation and will run into every black movie, buy anything with a black face, support anything with an empowered black woman on it like the Black Panther movie. But really, it's just us being taken advantage of. Well, that's what happens when you're desperate. And this is what I tell a lot of these cats all the time that want to talk about Colin Kaepernick. Whenever you're subverting yourself in that same way that Colin Kaepernick and his group are advocating so-called black people do, and I do call it a subversion, because when you're getting down on one knee and you're basically appealing to the quote-unquote elite to look at you as a human being, they're never going to respect you as what you claim you want them to respect you as, that being an equal. There was a very famous coin of a slave depicted on the coin, and the inscription on the coin is, "Am I not a brother?" Something along those lines. You can look it up. Had a slave on the coin that said, "Am I not a brother?" and he was kneeling on one knee also. So a lot of this has spiritual resonance, but I've already stated, I'm on record as stating, Colin Kaepernick was a plant, is a plant. He's a Marxist, and his handler is Ness Nitty. Let's see here. Somebody named Dark Soul Queese responded to Tony's son's comment and said, "Cooning." I don't even know what that means. A lot of these Negroes use that word or use that term just to get attention. And like I stated, they'll be the first person in the white man's workplace on Monday looking to talk with Chad at the water cooler about the baseball game. So this person, YG New, says, this is just a money grab preying on the low self-esteem and confidence of the liberal black woman. This business will only go up and up and up as society becomes more sensitive and soft. As the liberal ideologies grow in every woman's mind, it's sad. I agree. And that's why I state that you have a lot of these channels out here talking about the black woman and her conduct. And the reason why you see a lot of these channels popping up all over YouTube is because they know that they're going to make a lot of money, because the dysfunctionality of the black woman is not going to go anywhere. Because they're falling behind the television, they're falling behind these liberal ideologies, and they're only going to get worse and worse and worse until this society falls. So you'll be able to make money forever and ever and ever talking about the bad decisions and a lot of the nonsense of the liberal black woman. Me, Jason 4 says black women are so weak. I don't agree with that. I just think that they're confused. I don't think that you can call the so-called black women weak. I mean, to be quite frank with you, I would be more likely to call the so-called black man weak than the woman. Because the black man has to stand up to the black woman. A lot of you guys are scared to stand up to the black woman. And when I say stand up, I'm talking about in a real way. I'm not talking about in an emotional way. A lot of cats think that arguing with the so-called black woman or calling her a bed wench or a bitch or whatever, they think that that is making some type of headway. If you're going to stand up to the so-called black woman, then you're going to tell her what you're not going to tolerate. And you're going to do it from a position of power. What's that mean? You're going to have your own place. You're going to have your own income where you can provide for yourself and hopefully have money to put away. That's what's going to give you options. Hopefully you're not going to be down on two knees worshiping vagina. Vagina is wonderful. Right? It's wonderful. But you don't need to be worshiping it. A lot of you brothers, you worship it and it puts you in a bad situation. But anyway, this person, me, Jason, says black women are so weak they can't handle a little racism, so they escape. When a black man leaves, it's because they want cheap prostitutes. Let me see here. The healing mixologist says, handle a little racism, you are stupid, straight up. Me, Jason, says, what is it that makes me stupid based on what I said? If you're going to call me something, then have the balls to explain yourself or shut the fuck up. Future War X says, you're stupid because you're projecting your sick desires on the rest of us. There, how's that? The healing mixologist says, the fact that you're minimalizing racism and discrimination is disgusting. This entire thread makes me sick. White people whining about folks of color trying to get away from their bigotry. Yet all of these comments are hateful. These comments prove why folks of color are tired of it. Exclamation point. Well, healing mixologist, here's the real issue that you're having. One of your issues that you're having is that it's very obvious that you have no end game. And when we talk about so-called folks of color being tired of it, our people have talked about being tired of the treatment in this land for well over 100 years. The problem is that we're not adequately putting the Most High first. And the additional problem behind that is that even a lot of guys that's out here acting like they're teaching about the Most High or teaching about the scriptures, they're more concerned about making sure that they get credit, calling themselves prophets and reincarnated prophets and things of that nature, than they are with just communicating the basics. And a lot of this stuff is just very basic shit. It's not that complex at all. All right? And when it comes to things like racism, racism, once again, is an offshoot of self-preservation. The Caucasian utilizes racism to make sure that they can preserve the power that they feel like they should have as the rulers of this society. And that's it. So, when our people understand proper rules of engagement in a ruling class mentality and what it means to have a thriving community, then we'll do better. When our people learn to stop going into Chinese restaurants and eating rat, cat, and dog and making them rich. When a lot of the women learn to stop going to a lot of these salons and stores and restaurants making other people rich, then we'll be better off. When the so-called black man stops impregnating women that are not of a mother caliber or a wife caliber, then we'll be better off. But that's what we have to start with. You know, there was a famous boxer named Joe Louis. He had a very famous slogan. He said, "You can run, but you can't hide." You can go to Honduras. You can go to Guatemala. You can go to Brazil. You can go to all these places. It's still going to be the same thing because this is a global issue. It's a global issue. So that's the point of this video, or that was the point of that video, that series. Right? Is the black woman running from racism?